Hello, I'm Peter Seeley, and I'm a PhD student here at the Harvard Graduate School of Design. Architects use several different kinds of drawings to represent buildings, and we're going to look at several of those types right now. The first thing we have to understand is that all architectural drawings are abstractions. No one single drawing can give a perfect picture or understanding of a building. As students and scholars and people interested in architecture, we have to first remember that no one drawing can perfectly represent or capture a building. When we look at the drawings that architects produce, or the drawings that are made of existing or projected buildings, we have to, in our own mind, put them together. We take information from the different drawings. In some ways, they're abstract representations of a real object. And it's when we bring them together that we can gain a greater understanding of what actually is going on in a building. We'll begin with what we call the orthographic drawings. They're called orthographic because they're orthogonal or perpendicular to each other, and these are the major drawings that are made to represent buildings abstractly. They are the plan, the section, and the elevation. We're going to use the Villa Rotonda, which is a late Renaissance villa designed by Andrea Palladio, which we can see here, to discuss these different kinds of orthographic drawings. And we're going to start with the plan. Now the plan is a horizontal cut through the building that lets us see how the different rooms and spaces are arranged. In general, you make the plan cut, it's almost like you're slicing through the building at 1.20 meters, or around 4 feet above the floor. So we're not quite at the level of the floor, we're a little bit higher. And as we look at the plan that we now see has been cut, we notice how the area that's enclosed by the walls or by the columns has been darkened. There's a single line when we have a window, and there's a solid infill when we have a solid wall. So as we look at the plan, we can see how the different spaces connect to each other, through which doorways we could move, how we enter the building by going up the steps, by turning left or turning right to go into a different space. Looking again at the plan, we notice, as I've mentioned, how these darker areas represent where we're cutting through a wall. Lighter lines show us things that are below the plan cut. So for instance, the tiling on the floor, the arrangement of furniture, and etc. Sometimes we'll even use a dashed line to tell us that something is going on ahead. For instance, the shape of the dome that covers the central space. The second of the orthographic projections is the section. This is very similar to the plan, except this time we're cutting vertically through the building. Once again, the solid wall that's been cut through has been darkened. And it's important to note that when you make a section, you should never cut through a column because that'll make it look like a wall and you won't be able to tell the difference. Once again, windows and doorways have been drawn with a single line, so we can see that it's actually possible to move between spaces through there. In general, you will cut a section on the most important axis of the building. So in this case with the Villa Rotonda, we've cut it right through the middle. So you can see the different symmetries and massings that are at play, and how the peripheral spaces relate to the main central space. If you really want to properly describe a building, it will take several sections to show us how the different spaces relate in the major areas, the minor areas, etc. The third of the orthographic drawings is the elevation. This is similar to a section, except this time we're cutting well in front of the building. And sometimes on elevations they show the ground being cut, and other times it's more just a line that the building's sitting upon. Here everything is drawn in the lighter line weight because nothing's being cut except for perhaps the ground. The elevation is particularly useful for seeing how the facade has been composed by the architect.